I'm Isabel Lozano. I'm a sophomore. Right now I have like a a high 3.1, so about like a 3.2 GPA. Um, I'm a pre-law criminal justice major with a double minor in sociology and philosophy. And I say the minor because I did not change my major ever. I've always had the same major. I just added the pre-law to it as a advice from my counselor, but I did change my minor. And I originally tried to do psychology, and it didn't work out for me at all. I was really disappointed because I loved it, but it just didn't click. And then my advisor helped me figure out what was best suited more to me. Um, and then I was really interested in doing a double minor, so he really helped me with that. But that's basically what I'm doing right now, and that's just me. So
My name is Becca Gutierrez, or Rebecca. I am currently, I think I'm a senior. This is my fourth year here. I still have one more left. I think my credit standing is a senior. I'm not sure though. It's been a not traditional route. Um, my current GPA is 3.1, and my major is secondary English education, and it has stayed the same since the beginning. I love it. I don't really want to think about anything else, and I do not have a minor.
Hello, my name is Gabriella Tendon, or Gabby, or Briella. Sorry. My current GPA is a 3.7, if I remember correctly. I did switch majors. Uh, Freshman year, I was a biology major, but chemistry did not. I love biology, but chemistry did not love me back. So I had to switch because I was a 21st uh, scholarship. So I chose child development because it was like the second thing that came naturally to me. So that's about it.
my biggest struggle was time management with like social life versus work time. Um, it, I, it was just, I thought that it was going to be easier. And I thought that, oh my God, I'm not having a quiz every Wednesday or whatever. I have so much more time to do other things. And I didn't realize that you still have to spend some of that time doing stuff. So it was just like I got behind, and then it got to a point that it was just so behind that I didn't really see any point in like making a huge comeback. So like finals, I mean, I studied for them, but not super hard because I mean there was really at this point just like no hope. So it was really the root cause was just like my time management and figuring and not planning and failing to plan. That was just like the root cause of mine.
I think the biggest cause of my academic stress was first the adjustment, like Isabel said, the time management, the transition from high school. It's just an entirely different ballgame that you don't really know how to prepare yourself for. But I'm also from Wisconsin, so I was very far from home, about a 6-hour drive away. So coming to Ball State and to a new state was extremely stressful on my mental health, which was another factor leading into that. Um, Luckily, I had really good professors who understood, and I was able to retake their classes the following semester, so I made up for that.
Uh, One of the struggles I had was time management. Yes, my roommate had we had the same circle of friends, so I had the habit of when she would go out, I would want to go out as well to go hang out when I should have been doing homework, studying. And the second was sleep. I couldn't get as much sleep as I needed, considering I had health issues with being epileptic. So that was another difficulty. And when I would have episodes, I would have to miss lessons and lectures, and I'd be behind in those, and it was just difficult. But my professors understood. Just keep in contact with them, email. They always get back to you. But That was one of the few difficulties I had.
I just wanted to add that I think like an overall the big issue like I've seen from like even like what I said and then what they said is just like it's also like more self-responsibility communicating with your professors. So like when you have an illness or mental health and like it's almost like we're like, no, I'm not gonna email them like or am I insane? But like you don't realize how much that can help you. So I think that was also a failure is like not doing any of that. What I learned is that like I can do this. That it's not like there's I think it's also like I learned what I can and what I can't do. So that's almost like the whole switching minors thing, which like that's not a major change. So like I don't get that, but like it's just learning not that that's a weak moment that you like I think that's also I'm trying to like say that like the whole thing kind of taught me not to let it be a weak moment like as defined and almost coming through it as like I can do this. I know how to motivate myself. Like I think that was like a lot of the self-reflection I took from it is like I am very like, you know, you realize how strong you are, but you also the self-reflection is realizing how not strong you are and that sometimes it's okay to ask for help and get like an outside perspective. So like I learned both sides of that.
Yeah, I think similar to Isabel, something I learned was that I am capable of doing this, but I had to organize my time. I had to set a more routine schedule for myself. I ended up getting a couple new mental health diagnoses afterwards, which helped me kind of organize my time and organize my day-to-day life so that I could actually execute all the tasks that I had to do.
One of the things for me was all throughout high school and growing up, being epileptic, it was like a crutch. My professor, my teachers, like my mom, like I was basically walking on crutches. But when I was in college, like it was all up to me. Classes, routines, up to me when to go and eat, when to study, when to work, and it came to the point where I was like, wow, I'm 19 years old. I can't do this. I'm like, this is a transition between high school and adulthood. So I was like, I gotta do better. So I made the decision to uh, go to a different dorm so I could get some sleep, so I could work with myself. And I separated myself from my group of friends, like slowly, like drifted off. And more of my time went into going to the library and working as I finished chemistry as best as I could before I switched for the next semester.
Definitely, I did have support, maybe a little too much, because I knew the whole semester it wasn't going well. I wasn't doing well, like mental health, like it just I knew it like I was realistic. I knew it was bad. And I went home from break and I told my mom it's bad. And she said, no, no, there's no way. Well, you know, what's your GPA? A 2.3? And I said, no, it's a 1.9. She said, oh, okay. And then she said, but you haven't gotten a letter. You're fine. And then the next day the letter came in the mail and so it was just it was very hard on me and I definitely the stages of her trying to make it better. I know she was trying to. That was hard, but there was support there and she definitely supported me. And you know, eventually I told like my other family like about my, you know, what I was going through because I'm not just going to tell everybody, oh, I'm on academic probation. And you don't need to either. You don't need to make it a big thing, you know, but you do need to have some support. And even if you can't find that, like I'm fortunate that my mom was so supportive. If you can't find that, you know, you can find support in other places. And also myself, like I learned how to like support myself and I was fortunate to have her. But it's just having that conversation. And even though she was supportive, I do understand like it's embarrassing in a way and it shouldn't be, but I was, you know, it's embarrassing. So
I was overwhelmingly scared to tell my parents that I was on academic probation. I knew that I was going to be. I talked to my advisor, and I, for the longest time, did not tell my parents. They would ask about my grades and how classes were, and I was like, "Oh, still waiting on or for finals to be graded. They'll come out soon, but you can't use that excuse forever. So eventually I had to tell them, and one parent was not happy. One parent was understanding. They actually wanted me to come back home to Wisconsin because they were already worried about me being 2 states away. But they understood how much I loved being here, how much I liked Ball State, how much I did not want to go back to Wisconsin where it was even colder. And so they ended up slowly supporting me, and it was really all that I needed, and I ended up doing so much better the next semester.
Yeah, when my mom found out I was on academic probation, uh, it was not good, but it was again tough love. She knew I was better than that, and I had so much potential. And she told me that I can't have excuses because this was all up to me. Like I put myself in that hole. I gotta dig myself out. So that was one of the steps in domino effecting of yeah, changes have to be made, and change is good. Some things don't go out the way you plan, but that's okay. One door closes, another opens. And when I switched to child development, turned out that my sister was expecting a baby. So I was like, okay, I'm prepared. I got this. But yeah, my mom pushed me to do better, and because she knew I could have so much potential when I didn't see it. So I owed her that. So I was like, I can do this.
Interestingly enough, I'm not going to use like a lot of my college because in high school and also like my life, I mean, my family would always like, I was set in stone on being a veterinarian. Like, they would buy me vet books for Christmas. Like, my parents would like bet on that I was going to be a vet. When I got to high school, it changed suddenly that I wanted to be a surgeon. And I was so excited, trauma surgeon, like now this is what I want to do. And I realized how bad I was at math. And I was like, wow, like I was so excited to do this. And I just can't. And I was so lost because for me, I've grown up like feel like very fast. So I just wanted to have it all figured out before college, which you don't need to, but I just felt as though I did. So I was freaking out and everything. And even using my advisors here, the Ball State ones remind me the same of my advisors at home. Just they can really help you just figure out what suits you. And even though my minor change wasn't as serious as a major change, it's just as scary as it is. It's better to go into something that fits you rather than try to make this work that's just never going to work, and you're setting yourself up for failure. So it's just, and it feels relieving having something that works for you.
I never went through a major change. I went through a minor change. I did not have one declared, and then I was stressing. My parents were questioning, why don't you have a minor? So I was like, I'll do sociology. I feel like that could go with my major pretty well. Um, and it wasn't for me. It was, I don't know. I didn't like the class. I ended up withdrawing from that semester anyway. So I wanted to do anthropology. We're we're gonna see how that goes if I have the time to fit it in. But currently I just decided it was easier to not have one.
I mean, I just can't. My advisor was just out of this world. If you know him, Mark Holtzman, I mean, I I owe him I don't owe him anything, but I owe him so much. He is amazing, but in general, just the whole staff, you can just feel just the freshmen. I think advisors as a whole are so helpful, but just like advice to freshmen specifically, freshman advisors are one of a kind, and it's really such an opportunity as that freshman to use that. And because of the academic probation thing, it forces you to go to meetings. And at first I was like, I don't want to do this. And I was forced to. And I was so disappointed that I didn't use that resource my first semester, because maybe I could have made Dean's List my first semester if I had used that more. So that was just so helpful to me. Another thing is the tutoring. I didn't use that often. However, when I was taking my math class, I did use that for a few times, and it really helped me. So as much as I haven't explored that, I do know firsthand that that's really helpful. So that's that.
I ended up using a variety of sources on campus. Firstly, my academic advisor, of course. She was great. We love Jen Wells. And I've had some other academic struggles since then, and she's always prompt when responding, and she's actually helped see me through like a lot of different things. Another thing that I went to was the counseling center, which isn't for everyone. I've heard stories of people not having good experiences, but it was really beneficial for me. I ended up seeing an individual counselor, doing a workshop and group counseling therapy, what have you. The workshop was really good. That's the one thing I recommend for anyone, because you don't have to talk. You can just sit there and listen and figure out how to work through your stuff, and they'll give you papers and tools, and you can just take it home and kind of absorb it by yourself. And then the career center was really helpful as well. I became close friends with, I think it's Ailish Wasserman for that or for that second semester. I think that's her name. She ended up advising me to go to the teacher job fair, which we were uncertain about. She was like, that's very ambitious. But she was very happy to see me trying to get a head start. And through that, I think that's how I got recommended to this panel, was doing stuff like that.
One of the main resources I wish I did my freshman year was tutors, of course, libraries. Sorry. But the library, I love the library. I'm like in the library about 12 hours a day from the time I wake up till 1 o'clock in the morning. It's a bad habit, but I get all my work done within 2 days. One of the things I completely forgot to mention about what helped me change my majors. I chose child development because I've been taking care of kids since I was 7. So it's something that just came naturally. I knew what a baby needed to be fed. I knew how to change her. I asked my aunt, I'm like, can you teach me how to do this so I can do it? And she's like, looking at my mom, she's 7? She's like, yeah. I was like, yes. And then that's how I became a babysitter for the first time. But back to resources, library, you will love it. There's 4 floors, all private. There's rooms that you can rent out, especially if you're going to be recording something quiet and good lighting.
So I would say the first thing that was the biggest thing is either a planner works for me sometimes, or a calendar works for me sometimes. It's kind of a hit or miss, because sometimes I'll favor the calendar and sometimes I'll favor the planner. So really, you can try both. But that's what really helped. Another thing that helped is making it colored pens. It just, that was really good for me, because I think also the main reason I did so bad my first semester is I based it all of like, because I went to a private school where you couldn't use laptops to take your notes. And I'm like, finally, I can take notes on my laptop. And it ended up for some classes working, but not for all. So I write a lot more. But I've even like recognized, oh, what was I trying to say? Oh, I'll think of it. But either way, it's pretty much just like writing and planning. And I think that's kind of fitting into the whole time management issue and having discipline. That study tip. My best advice is actually an issue I ran into last semester. Quizlet was my best friend some semesters. Unfortunately, that's not advice you should give, but it was some semesters, and some semesters it wasn't. And I depended on Quizlet for a test last semester and I failed. So I had to start making my own study guides and stuff like that. But for some people, study guides don't work. So I think just like my advice is it took me a while to find out what the best things were to work for me, what list I would actually follow, what goals I actually was going to follow, like what was realistic for me, and also like what worked for me. So I found like studying 1 to 2 weeks before and communicating with my professors if I had issues like mental health, such as deadlines. And that's happened a few times too. Um, I've missed an exam and freaked out and I've had to email that. So I think that's my advice, just like things I've done.
Yeah, part of my studying organization was just finding what worked best for me. So I didn't realize until the following semester that I'm a very like tactile person, and you know, typing stuff on a computer does not work for me. Sometimes writing stuff in a notebook does, but it became my brain became very sporadic, and it became very hard for me to just visualize the easiest thing. So what I ended up doing was I got like a big poster board, and it ended up looking like an Excel spreadsheet, and I blocked out my time for my classes and the times that I worked and put up poster notes for when things were due so I could see it and plan out my week in advance. Another thing that I started doing last semester was mind mapping. So another thing that I ended up putting up on my wall is I have a bunch of papers and note cards up here, and I have little things written down. So if I'm doing a paper, I will have, okay, resources, all of these links, um, topic options, all of them listed, and it goes up on my wall and I circle and I highlight. And I'm sometimes I'll take tape and like draw connections between the two of them, just so that I can keep it so that it's concrete, so that I can see it even when I step away from it.
Studying tips, again, the library. Uh, just as Becca said, I can't really type my notes because it just goes in one ear and out the other, and plus the screen hurts my eyes. So then I won't want to stay up and study. So what I do is I print everything out. I print out all the syllabuses and the study guides, and then I fill them in by hand. Um, I take notes by hand. You can print out the presentations if you want. Some professors have that within the modules. You have $30 to spend at the library. Uh, Black and white is 5 cents per page and 25 cents per color. But that's how I studied, just printing out the syllabuses or the study guides, just going over them within the library. I use a lot of different colored pens so I can actually see it, because if it's just all black, I'm just like words, words, words. But if it's colors, I know, okay, this is important, this is vocab, this is a formula, this is like so on and so forth. Like it's just easier to see and spot because my mind works differently. It's complicated.
I think my biggest one was communication all over the board. Um, as much as it seems like it's not like about getting away or being malicious, it's just about communicating when you simply are struggling. And that was definitely a big issue with assignments. I was going through a lot definitely at the time, and I definitely could have communicated better. And that even fed into other semesters where I ran into issues of missing an exam or falling asleep because I was so tired, like just so many things. There's so many examples I could do, but just if I would have communicated better, and I'm even learning still now just to communicate better. Also, what helped with the whole time management thing is accepting that I'm going to be disappointed in probably things that I have to do, such as like, you have to do certain things differently, like how Gabrielle said, like, she moved. Like you have to make changes, and sometimes those changes are hard and they're difficult and they're not really things you want to do, but they're things that are going to work better for you. So it's just about establishing better discipline, which that's like communicating with yourself. So you just have to like, it's just communicating all over the board, and then finding things that, like a plan and goals, like just setting smaller goals rather than big picture, it all just goes together in managing your time.
Yeah, as far as time management goes, I mentioned my weekly board already. It was really nice to be able to see what that would look like and plan out my time accordingly. Another thing is, you don't always want to do homework, you don't always want to study. But at the same time, every minute is precious when you have to do something like that. Um, but at the same time, if you're not into it, you're not absorbing anything. So what I started doing last semester is I would just do some random thing productive just to start. I would paint or cook or do like fun makeup for no reason. And it got me amped up enough to be able to transfer that into doing my homework. And then I would get things done a lot faster, and have a lot more fun doing it.
I just wanted to say quickly, I forgot about that completely, like a morning routine. Like you think getting dressed wouldn't help you, like be motivated and like do your work, but it like would. Just like a small routine to just stick to.
Time management, like Becca and Isabel said, small routines. So my routine is I get up every morning at 6:40. I go down to get breakfast at 7, and I'm already awake. So I'm like, okay, what do I do now? I'm like, okay, I'll just go to the library, and then I just do homework all day, because I got nothing else to do. And then when the time comes to dealing with friends, I understand that I don't see them that often, but they also have to understand that they don't see me that often. We're busy. We're in college. Like, we're not gonna have time sometime. One of my friends, he was actually complaining of how he doesn't get to see me all the time because I'm always in that dang library, and I had to make a choice, him or the library. I'm like, the library. I'm like, this is what's gonna be paying my bills. I'm like, I'm thanking my future self. Like, work hard now, so you have to work less in the future. Um, but freshman year with the friends I had, um, in the decision process of switching, I didn't want to because they were my friends. I was gonna do everything with them, but I'm thinking to myself, well, are they the type of friends gonna last more than 10 years? Are they the type of friends that you can call in the middle to help you with something, like no matter what? Are they the type of friends that would make sacrifices for you as you would for them? No, they're just like high school friends. Like high school, yeah, you had these great buddies and everything, like you're in the softball group or the football group. But if you look now, everyone split their ways. No one's contacting you or them from that time. I had a friend in high school. I don't contact her anymore, and I feel bad, but it's just another example of people split their ways. They're not gonna stop everything for you. So I was like, you know what? Why would I stop everything for them? So that's one of the self talks I give myself, or self discipline, to be like, I have to do this.
I really think how I got the most out of class is like, I mean, it feeds into that communication thing, but overall it's about building relationships with your professors. And I think that I've been fortunate to like know the direction I'm going. So it's a little easier for me to say to build relationships with the professors that I have. Um, but even like my history professor, I mean, that was a core class that I had to take that I didn't want to take. And I built a relationship with him and communicated with him. He actually let me make up an exam. Like it's as long as that's where I've recognized I've gotten the most out of it, is where the relationship and the communication, I don't feel so stressed because I know that this professor doesn't think I'm just another face in the class. I mean, they kind of have more of a direct relationship, and it just benefits me more. And I recognize I'm always not as confused when I have that. Um, just watching it in general, just school, just kind of not being on it during the day, and just, or in general, like don't make that my focus. Just like not even academically, just in general, it benefits. And I've recognized for me personally, it doesn't really matter where I sit in the class, but what I have recognized is when they are smaller classrooms, teachers, or not smaller classrooms, I would actually say, if anything, in lectures, they seem to be happy with students who sit more in the front. But it all has to deal with participation too. And it's all feeding back into the relationship you have with your professor. So if you participate, just make yourself known. I think that's where you get the most out of it.
In terms of getting the most out of class, I was the opposite with my phone. So one of my diagnoses that I got was ADHD. And so I honestly have medication for that, but it doesn't fix everything. And so what I ended up doing was I would either have a notebook or my phone or something, and I would end up either coloring or like playing Sudoku on my phone while I was in class. And it was an arbitrary thing, so it didn't take a lot of time away, and I could still transition between that and taking notes. But it was really helpful to have something to do with my hands and to like kind of focus on instead of trying to focus on the professor and zoning out a lot easier. And that was something I communicated with my professors too, is because I didn't want to be disrespectful. I wasn't on my phone just because I didn't like their class. It's something that ended up being a really good crutch for me. And as far as communication with professors go in general, like don't be afraid to reach out to professors, especially the ones in your major, because you will probably have them again. You'll get to know them, they'll get to know you. And it's better for them to understand your needs right away than having to go down the road and be like, hey, so I know I could have told you this like 3 years ago, but hey, can you help me with this?
I most definitely agree with Becca and Isabel of don't be afraid to contact your professors. Do not. I know in high school I was very shy, but I regret it because I needed a lot of help, but I was too stubborn to ask for help. Um, so don't be afraid to ask help. I always email my professors and they always get back to me, and I say, I'm sorry for disturbing you late at night, but they're like, no, thank you for asking questions. I want you to ask questions. And it's really assuring that your professors want you to, and it makes you want to take another step forward. Oh, okay, I can do this. As for classes, participation, yes, 100%. You don't want to raise your hand because you're scared, but you got to understand no one's going to judge you of your question or answer. They don't know you. So why bother having your opinion in mind? So I just always raise my hand. I get it wrong. I get it wrong. And my professor explains it to me. I'm like, oh, okay. I understand now. And then I volunteer for the next question. Don't be afraid to volunteer. Put yourself out there. That's how you stand out with the professors. They see that you're trying. And if they see that, they know that you're just not another kid who's in this class. But yeah, one of the examples is I print everything out. So this is my course syllabus for one of my classes. I need to have it physically so I can see it right there. And it also has my professor's information, like phone number, email, and another email if I need help.
So I kind of got more spiritual. So just for me personally, I like meditation, just like that. But in general, just you time, but to an extent, don't give yourself too much time, but just understand that you are human. You're not perfect. You can't get everything done perfectly. And you do need to get things done, and as long as you understand that you need to get it done, don't overwork yourself. And that's what I've learned for myself too. I don't overpush myself because I recognize when I do overpush myself, that's often when I freak out. And then all of a sudden it's all that hard work doesn't really mean anything because it's not really working out that well. And also just leaning on support from advisors, teachers, friends, family, not that full support, you obviously support yourself, but it's not wrong to get support from those other people and to be with other people and get advice from other people. So as long as you just give yourself time and focus on yourself, but also don't so much focus on yourself where it just destroys you. You know, give yourself a break. I think that's just allowing breaks, because it's all okay to do that.
So stress for me is one of the main concerns for my health because my body is fragile. So I need to watch out for my sleep schedule and my stress levels because that's one of my triggers. So how I handle stress is over the years I've uh, just come up with the motto of, can I do something about it? Can I stop it? Can I be prepared for this? Can I control it? And yes, I can be prepared. So I'll just practice that. Okay, that's one stress off the shoulder. Can I control it? No, I can't. So it's out of my hands. I can't worry or stress about things that I can't control. That's one of the things I was taught by my mom because I was always overthinking things, always worrying and stressing out. Uh, Definitely me time. Like I like to read, so I read. Spiritual, yes. I'm from a Christian family, so I always make time to like pray, like please God give me the strength. Like I feel like I can't do this, and of course, support from family. So my mom would just talk to me. She's like, settle down, it's okay. She's like, have you studied? I'm like, yes. Have you worked on it? Yes. She's like, okay, that's all you can do. And I'm like, yeah. And sometimes it's just better to do your best than be the best. So there was that motivation. Motivation for me is I don't want to get stuck into my small town. Like, what am I gonna do? Well, I gotta pay bills somehow. I gotta work. So the only work I can do around here is work in a factory. I don't want to do that. So more of a reason to push myself harder to get away from that. And also the fact of my mom is paying for me to get this education. I owe it to her and I owe it to myself in order to do my best, especially for my baby nephew. Like, I want him to have a better life that we had growing up because my mom was a single parent with 4 kids. Like, so it was difficult. But motivation, like, that's just constantly in my head. Like, I have to do this. I got to. That's just it. But that's just what I do for stress and motivation. And again, the library always motivates me because I'm in front of a computer. I'm like, well, I'm doing nothing right now, so I'll just work on the assignment. So yeah. The third question, I didn't get to answer that. I'm sorry. To attend classes or assignments. I forgot to say, if you don't, you will regret it. You will be further behind, and you'll just have to work harder, twice as hard, in order to get to the place you are supposed to be. But we both know that you won't want to work twice as hard. So there you get back, set back even more. So just go to the class. Like, you don't want to, but it'll wake you up. You'll be glad that you're there because sometimes the professors are more detailed than with the presentations. So there's that. And after it wakes you up, you can be like, okay, I can get started on that actually. And I actually have done this multiple times with my 8 a.m. class for language arts. It's my only class. So I'm like, I don't really need to go to it. But I'm like, no, I do. Because after that, I'll be able to go to the library. So, there.
I was saying how that I think every profession is great in its own way, like even fast food workers, as much as people try to say how, like, I think every profession is amazing, how, you know, but my junior year, I went through a lot, and just wanting to be a lawyer was just a really big personal thing for me. And I was so passionate about it and interested in it. And I have to get really good grades to go to law school. So it wasn't so much also of I can't do college because I thought maybe I have to drop out, maybe college isn't for me, but it's also I don't have a plan B. Even if I can do college, maybe I don't have the grades to get to be a lawyer, and that was very disappointing to me. And you know, now the progress I've made. It's so great to see like I can finally do it. But I just know how low like that moment feels, and like hearing Becca and Gabrielle, like so much different stories, like all the same, but like all different. And it's just like we've all had such low moments where we've all thought like it's done, like this is over. Like even her, I have to go to Wisconsin, like epilepsy, like there's so many things where it seems like it's just over. And it's maybe over in some ways, but it's not completely over, and it's not like completely done. And it's just better to move forward, and it's just not give up. But that's my just like whole perspective on academic probation. It's not such a bad thing. Like it is, but it's not.
She just sparked something for me. I was actually not per se allowed to go to college because with my condition, my doctor said like, hey, I don't think it's best. Your seizures aren't controlled and this is a new environment. And it was just kind of made me feel incompetent, like I couldn't do anything.
Literally a blow in the
Yeah.
face.
But me being me, I'm like, oh, you think I can't do it? Okay. And then I'm like, my next appointment, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing good. I'm at college actually. And she's like, what? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, wow, I'm so proud of you. I'm like, me too. The second thing was, so don't let anything stop you, disability or not. If you want something, do it. The second thing was when I was struggling, one of the many things that my mom said to me was, do you want it? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, then prove it. So I'm like, okay, she has a point. I need to work harder. So that's another thing. So if you really want this, you will really work for it. Classes should not be difficult for you. Like if it's something you love to do, if it's something you love to do, it won't stop you.